Asalaam Aleykum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome to the Sultan podcast. Today we're going to be doing Surah al-Fil. Okay? So Ibn Kathir says that this is a favor of Allah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did for Quraysh, saving them from the people of the elephant who tried to destroy the Kaaba. Okay? In this year, where Allah destroyed the people who were attempting to destroy the Kaaba, I'll explain in a second. This is the same year that the Prophet ﷺ was born, according to the most popular opinion. Okay, that might just mean that that's what we like to think, but I've mentioned it. So here's what was happening with the people of the elephant. In another surah, Surah al-Buruj, you have Ashab al-Ukhdud, the people of the ditch. So in short, completely oversimplified, what happened is a bunch of people chose to become Christian, which was the religion of the time. Islam hadn't come out yet. And as a result of this, they had a king called Dhu Nawas. Dhu Nawas was a polytheist, and he believed that he was actually the god of his people. So when his people decided to become Christian, that was an affront to his power. So what he did was he built like lots of ditches, and he just set them on fire and threw all of his people inside of those ditches, killing like many of them. I think anybody else who was left either had to revert to polytheism or just die. Okay, one Christian man escaped, and he went to the Roman Emperor Caesar. Don't know exactly what the name of the guy was, and he told him about what had happened to him and what Dunawas had done to him. The Caesar, the Roman emperor, who was also Christian, wrote to An-Najashi telling him what this man had told him, and was practically saying that An-Najashi should deal with this because Dhu Nawas was the king of Yemen, and Ethiopia is a lot closer to Yemen than the Roman emperor. Okay, so An-Najashi sent two generals and a large army. The two generals were Ariyat and Abraha, and he sent them with a large army to go and find Dhu Nawas, which they did. They found him, and I believe they drowned him, or he drowned himself. Not so sure about that part. So after they dealt with Dhu Nawas, they were now free to rule Yemen. But Ariyat and Abraha continually had disagreements, and they were constantly at war with each other. So eventually Ariyat, he comes to Abraha, he says, Abraha, bro, let's fight this man to man. We fight in our army's stead, and the person who wins ends up the ruler of Yemen. Abraha agreed. They started the duel, but Ariyat was described as being a sort of tall and thin dude, okay? And Ariyat was short and chubby. So what happened was, in the duel, I believe, Ariyat, he slashed the nose of Abraha. So a part of his nose came out, like got cut off, and at that point, Abraha's general, or lieutenant, comes in and he kills Ariyat. So Abraha has cheated, and also the fact that he lost his nose in that battle, or like part of his nose, is why Abraha was actually called Abraha al-Ashram, yani Abraha, the person with a stubbed nose, right? And Abraha had cheated, but like the matter is over now, what are you going to do, right? And Abraha becomes the ruler of Yemen. And Najashi hears of this, is furious completely. He sends a letter to Abraha saying that he's giving a threat, saying that he would tread the soil of Yemen and cut off Abraha's forelock, meaning his head, right? Abraha gathers some precious gems and stuff like that, and he gathers some soil from Yemen and gets some hair off his forelock, off his head, and he sends this to the king An-Najashi, and he says, let the king walk upon this soil and fulfill his oath, and this is my forelock hair that I send to you. So practically he allowed the king to fulfill the oath that he had made with that threat. And An-Najashi saw the humor in this and left Abraha alone for the time being. Okay, Abraha, not really sure of his position with the Najashi, decides he's going to build a huge church. Okay, literally, he said, a church the like of which had never been built before. Okay, and he built a church in Sana'a that was beautifully crafted, and the Arabs used to call it al-Qullais, because if you looked up to actually take in the church, your cap or turban would fall off. Okay, Abraha, after he built the church, wanted the church to take the place of Al-Kaaba in Arab society. So he wanted people to be making pilgrimage to the Kaaba instead of the church. He tried to enforce it on the people of Yemen and in the kingdom he was ruling, and there are two tribes, Adnan and Qahtan. These guys refused. I don't know how it went with everybody else, but there are two narrations on what happens next. The first one is that the people of Quraysh, hearing about what Abraha was trying to do, became so infuriated that a guy goes into the church at like nighttime, defecates, and he like spreads it all around the church. Okay? And Abraha's lieutenants come to him and they say to him, this is what this guy from Quraysh has done because he's angry about what you're trying to do with this church. Okay? The second narration is that a group of people from Quraysh entered the church and lit it on fire on a really windy day, so it collapsed to the ground. You know, this whole church that was being built collapsed to the ground. In either case, Abraha now decides he's going to destroy the Kaaba. So, Abraha prepared himself and set out with a huge powerful army so that he wouldn't be able to be stopped as he was going to destroy the Kaaba. He had this huge elephant called Mahmud, you know, and the intention was that they were going to use this huge elephant. They tie like a cable to each side of the Kaaba, and then they put it on the other side onto the elephant, and then the elephant would pull, and eventually it would completely destroy the Kaaba. So Abraha sets out, and the people of Yemen, they send a guy called Dhu Nafr, okay, one of the most noble men in Yemen, and he calls to all of the Arabs in the area to help him fight against Abraha, and they confront Abraha. They lose. The army of Abraha keeps going until they reach the valley of Qatham, okay, and they were confronted by, let me just check the name, Nufail bin Habib al-Ka'thami, along with his people, the Shahran and Nahris tribes. They lost as well. Nufail himself was captured and was now going to guide Abraha and his army to the Kaaba. I don't think it was like the wisest decision to have the guy you just fought lead you to where you're going, but you know, whatever. They also captured a few grazing animals around, like as they were going towards Al-Kaaba, and 200 of these belonged to Abdul Muttalib. Okay, so they reached the Kaaba, and they reached Mecca. They didn't reach the Kaaba. They reached Mecca, and Abraha sent an emissary to bring him the head of Quraysh and tell the Quraysh that if the people of Quraysh and the people of Mecca didn't fight against Abraha, he wouldn't do anything to them. He was just here to destroy this building, right? As the emissary comes in, he tells Abdul Muttalib what Abraha said. Abdul Muttalib says they're not able to even defend the Kaaba. Yani, Allah will defend it, not us. And this emissary tells Abdul Muttalib to go and see Abraha. Abraha, he comes in, Abdul Muttalib comes in, and he's really impressed by Abdul Muttalib because Abdul Muttalib is a tall and handsome dude, right? And he sits on the level of Abdul Muttalib, and as they're sitting on the same level. Usually because Abraha is a king, you know, he'd sit on a throne, but because he had so much respect, they were sitting on the same level. Abraha says to him, Yani, what do you want from me? And Abdul Muttalib says he wants his 200 camels. Abraha tells the translator that, you know, I respected you so much, but now I don't, because you're just coming here for your 200 camels, even though I'm going to destroy like your most holy place. And Abdul Muttalib said that, what did he say? He said that I am the Lord of the camels, okay? As for the house, Al-Kaaba, it has its Lord who will defend it, okay? And then Abraha responds, I can't be prevented from destroying it. Abdul Muttalib says, then do so, okay? Abdul Muttalib then offers Abraha a third of the wealth of the tribe of Tihama, okay? I don't know how wealthy they are, for him to just go back home and leave. Abraha refuses. He returns to Abdul Muttalib his camels, And Abdul Muttalib goes and he tells the people of Mecca to leave to the mountaintops. He's afraid that the army is going to like destroy things and abuse people and stuff like that. So he tells everyone to go to the mountaintops, and he makes dua by the Kaaba. What he says is, "There is no matter more important to any man right now than defense of his livestock and property. So, O my Lord, defend your property. Their cross and their cunning will not be victorious over your cunning by the time morning comes." Okay, and Abdul Muttalib himself, he leaves to the mountaintops. Okay, they also left 100 like animals like around Al-Kaaba, hoping that the army of Abraha would take them without having the right to do so, them being belonging to other people, and by this they would incur the wrath of Allah upon them. Okay? So now Abraha prepares to enter the city of Mecca. So they prepared the elephant called Mahmud, right? And they turned the elephant towards the Kaaba. When that happened, Nufail, the guy who had been captured earlier, went to the camel and kneeled beside the camel, and he told the camel, "Kneel, Mahmud, turn around and return directly to whence you came, for verily you're in the sacred city of Allah." Okay? And then he released the elephant's ear and it knelt. After which Nufail bin Habib left and went to the mountains where the rest of the Quraysh were. Okay? So the army of Abraha started trying to get the camel to move towards the Kaaba, and they weren't able to do it. The elephant was just kneeling and wasn't moving at all. They tried beating it with axes and trying lifting it with many men, trying to lift the camel, to get it to stand up, but it completely refused. Then they turned it towards Yemen, okay, whence it came, and it got up and started moving. They turned it towards Syria, got up and started moving. But every time they turned it towards the Kaaba, they weren't able to get it to do anything. Okay, and it just knelt down again and was completely disobedient. And then Allah sent against them birds from the sea like swallows and herons. Each bird carried 3 stones the size of chickpeas and lentils, one in each claw and one in its beak. Okay, and they started throwing these stones at the army of Abraha. Everyone who was hit by one of the stones, it would come out from the other side. So it comes in here, goes in here, and that was how it worked, right? So there were people who ended up being destroyed immediately, comes through his head, goes through the other side. It's like being shot in the head, right? But there were some people who were being broken apart limb by limb, okay? And it would hit you in the hand, it would hit you in the arm, but it wasn't getting to anything vital, so you weren't dying immediately. Abraha was said to be one of these people, and they say that Abraha was being continuously broken down by these pebbles that were being thrown, until by the time he reached Qatham, the place where he had defeated Nufail ibn Habib as he was running away, he was really small, and he only died when his heart fell out of his chest. So that's the state he was in. Literally, his heart fell out of his chest. But that's just a rumor. Ibn Kathir wasn't so sure about whether or not that was true. Okay? And so we come to the ayat of the actual surah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بأصحاب الفيل ألم يجعل كيدهم في تضليل وأرسل عليهم طيرا أبابيل ترميهم بحجارة من سجيل فجعلهم كعصف مأكول. Did you not see how Allah dealt with the people of the elephant? Did He not make their plan go into disarray and sent upon them birds ababil, yani flocks of birds, ترميهم بحجارة من سجيل, who struck them with stones made out of sijil, فَجَعَلَهُمْ كَأَسْفٍ مَأْكُولٍ, and turned them into asf ma'kul. Asf ma'kul is literally hay, straw, the things that horses eat. So, the ayat of this surah literally correspond with the whole thing that happened, from the story. Okay? And yeah, that was the tafsir of Surah al-Fil. If you liked the video, like and subscribe. And wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.